Hello, 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 and welcome to the $1 Million Electrician Podcast, where we help home service pros like you supercharge your business and spark up those sales.
I'm Joseph Lucani, and together with my co-host, Clay Newmeyer, we're here to share the secrets that have helped electricians sell over $1 million from a single service van.
Now, it's time for sales. It's time for scale. It's time to become $1 million electrician. Hey guys, and welcome back to the $1 Million Electrician Podcast. I am stoked to be here. We've got an ultra powerful, quick and punchy episode for you today, where Joe's going to break down something that he's helped teach our team and that he helps teach sales leaders to be able to review the solutions, design the options that your guys are presenting to your customers. And why I think this is so valuable for you is there is a set of criteria that Joe specifically looks for to be able to gauge how well these options were put together. And if that's not value, what is to be able to ensure that your whole team's out there working at the top level? Joe, you ready to jump into this today, brother?
Set me up, man. Let's make it happen.
All right. So, of course, we follow a 6 options framework as that creates a couple of great advantages. Do you want to start us off there?
Sure. So the reason why we choose 6 is because it allows us to approach 3 different buyer archetypes. One is a premium, one is a mid-range, and one is an economy. So the first thing that we're going to check for is that we have those 3 ranges. So the benefit of that is that regardless of whatever buyer you're in front of, which is different than the buyer you think you're in front of. You could think you're in front of an economy buyer, but you're actually in front of a premium buyer. And you could be in front of a premium economy thinking you're in front of a premium. So if you have the spread for every customer, you have a far likelier chance to close.
Really cool. Great little synopsis there. Now, help me understand this and anyone who's listening. If they're currently good, better, best model, they're offering some options, but they're at the 3. Will this same framework still work for them to be able to assess options, or do you have to be at 6 for this to work?
Not at 6, but I hate good, better, best because it actually is the inverse of what we do. If you said best, better, good, I would be okay with that. The reason being is that the first offer you make a client has to be your best offer. The reason being is there's 2 different situations that come into play. One is that if they don't like your top option, you have the ability of saying, well, I told you weren't going to like that one. Let's look at the other more economical options. And then every option after that is lower in price. So the comparison is, I won't do this, but now this looks far more appealing. So there is a psychological prospect in play there. The second is if you decided to go from the bottom up, everything seems like an upsell after a certain period of time. Because if the customer's like, well, wait a second, for this one, you just reset the GFI, but now why would you need to do this localization thing? Wouldn't that just fix it? Or, why don't it just change the breaker? Why would I need to do the whole renovation? It doesn't make any sense. So even if your things were fully justified, like, hey, it's an FP panel, it's 60 years old, they're not going to see it that way. They're going to see, this is what you could do, and you're choosing to do this instead. I see what you're doing. You're trying to get more money off of me.
And that reminds me of a psychological principle that I've read in many sales books, actually. But I can't remember the name of what they call this bias. Maybe you can fill the gap. But if they see that great big platinum price, it doesn't necessarily scare them away from all things. It actually makes everything else look more valuable as well with reference to that.
I believe that's a law of comparison. And the reason being behind that is it's almost like someone says, well, here's the big ticket offer. And the thing is, it doesn't mean that they're going to say no to it. We just think they're going to say no to it. But the fact that you have such a spread, which is actually the next thing we're going to get into, is going to, if nothing else, encourage all your other options to feel better. On my top option, we have a $10,000 full electrical system renovation. On my bottom, I'm just swapping out your breakers and re-terminating that one burn thing. You choose what you want. That's $10,000. This is $600. How would you like to proceed? So it's a complete no pressure because the customer now even looks at the bottom and says, if you came in offering 6 from the jump, they might have been upset. But your bottom option's now 6? Yeah, all right, that's way better.
Yeah, really good. I love that. I want to get you guys prepped for this because one of the most common compliments we receive in our program is for Joseph and these options design classes. He does 3 a week. Joe, how did you get so good at solutions design?
Well, I mean, it's a hard question to answer, but I would say it's through constant muscle memory and also a desire to be a good electrician. Because the thing that I love about options is that it actually makes you a better electrician. Because if you have to design something 3 or 4 different ways, you have to understand the thing at a very strong technical level. So, one, I'm becoming a better electrician every option I design. But two, it's a consistent muscle memory where if I just consistently am able to say, this is a framework, and I spent 45 minutes bonding with a customer and learning what's important to them, and then I tie that with a very vast technical knowledge, I can produce something very, very effective.
Really
So I
powerful.
think it's a
Really
short
powerful.
answer to a very long question.
No, it's good, man. It's good. So let's set you up then. So let's say you've
Mhm.
got 6 options in front of you, from the most permanent to the most temporary. Someone's put this across the screen here for you to look at, or across your desk when you were still in
Mhm.
your business. What's the
Mhm.
first thing that you're looking for to gauge the competency and evaluate this set of solutions?
It actually has nothing to do with the options themselves, believe it or not. The first thing that I'm going to look for is something called an observation section. What the observation section is the title of every presentation. And it's almost a synopsis of everything you experienced and everything you saw in a verbally packaged way for the customer to easily digest it. The benefit there was I've always learned if you can describe the problem in an accurate and fair enough way, the solution sells itself. But when the
Hmm.
customer can't see the problem and how it affects them on a personal or emotional level, they're going to choose the most bottom options. So it's my responsibility to make sure not that I'm pushing them to do something, but that they really understand what's at stake. And if they truly understand it at stake and they still choose something bottom, I can say, you know what? I offered you the choices. Your house can burn down for all I care. I told you what it was. But they get to make that choice. So I never get to be called a pushy salesperson.
Okay. Observation section noted. What's the next thing you look for, brother?
Other than the 3 tiers, is also going to be price. And let me explain why I feel price. It's not the number, it's the relation of the numbers to one or another. So let's say your top option is, sake of argument, $10,000, which is not uncommon. There's higher ones, there's lower ones. But let's say it's 10. And then your bottom one, your next one is 8. And then your next one is 6. And then your next one is 1,500. That's a huge gap. And me as the customer, I would not be comfortable unless I knew what options existed between 6 and 1,500. That gap alone makes me feel that there's something else that I don't see. And that would cause me as a customer to say, I need other estimates. But if you have a consistent drop, let's say it is, for sake of easy numbers, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 500. At least then, me as the customer, I can say, all right, I've seen the under $1,000 option and I've seen everything consistently all the way to the best. I genuinely feel like I'm looking at the whole picture here. And because I feel like I have the whole picture in front of me, I don't need to go elsewhere because I have 2 choices per level. So if I'm a premium buyer, not only do I feel like I have the whole situation understood, but I have very 2 clear, easy to understand choices that I've already now can ask the person across the table to explain further if I really want to know.
Awesome. I love that spread concept. What's next for you? What's on the list next?
I would say no technical jargon. The reason
Mm,
why I say technical jargon is we as electricians, we've got a flaw, and it's a pretty big design flaw in us, in that we often try to communicate competency with technical knowledge. So, what you'll start seeing is this is a 60-year-old FP panel model XYZ, 100 amps, and we're going to install a single disconnect on the exterior SER. It just sounds really frustrating unless you're an engineer trying to interpret this data. So what I look at is say, if I was, and I use this example, if I was an accountant who doesn't own a screwdriver, like I don't even know how a breaker works, how would I read this information you're putting in front of me? And would I find it valuable? If I
mm.
can't understand it in that mind state, I will not be able to create value for that type of person. But if everyone can clearly understand what I'm doing, my chance of closing is a lot higher because the confused mind doesn't say no. The confused mind just buys the cheapest thing they can get away with.
Really good stuff. So we got a few top things here. We said observations.
Mm-hmm.
We said equal spacing between them. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, rolled in with that is providing multiple options for the three buyer types.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm drawing a
Trade
blank.
jargon. No,
Trade
no, no
jargon.
trade.
Thank you.
No
Thank you.
trade
Thank you.
jargon.
You rescued me. Yeah, no trade
Got your back.
jargon. Simple language. So
Mm-hmm.
important. Joe, I've got one last question for you to help this topic along. What
Sure.
about the times where someone comes with two options, three, four, and they're unable to come up with a full suite of six? Now, I've seen all types of calls and all
Mm-hmm.
types of people say there's just no way you could come up with more. And I've never seen you been stumped yet. So, can you just shed light on where does your mind go immediately? What are the first questions you think to ask? Help us understand
Sure.
how you drive to six every time.
So remember in the earlier part of our conversation, I described how making options makes you a better electrician, right? So when someone says you can't make options, I simply look and I ask questions. So like, let's say the trip GFI call. Someone's like, you can't do it. It's just that. And say, okay, well, just 1 foot around this space. Is the box properly secured so that there's no air gaps between the tile? Is the wiring in great condition for it? Is it properly seated? Great, okay. What about the wiring from it to the panel? Is that in good condition? If it's not, okay, are they all localized? Is this sharing? Then go to the panel. How's the main system? So I'm not trying to be too specific on this example, but the point is that if you look at the system from a technical level and you'd say, as an electrician, I understand where this system will break, and I'm just future proofing it by putting removals of those breakpoints for the future, I can guarantee a better long-term solution for the customer. And to reduce my options, I simply remove those preventative breakpoints until the bottom option is I'll just reset the GFI and we'll be done if that's what you really want. And all the way at the top, which is I can rerun the circuit, I can make it 20 amp, I can make everything localized with it. We can ensure the protections have arc fault and GFI protection, and you choose whatever you think is the best fit.
Superpower. I love that. You reminded me of the episode where we had Travis Terrebonne from Gen Gators on, and
Awesome,
he
dude.
did something similar, not with solutions necessarily, but based on his business. Let's make a list of all the negatives, and then let's either build a moat around those things or eliminate those risks completely by addressing them. Joe, I think that's absolutely fantastic. If you guys got value from this, please let us know. Big win of the week, quick. We had Eric, one of our clients, recently actually do some shopping around, understand some of the rebates in his area, and pitch at his simple service rate to some of the local commercial entities lighting upgrades that they could actually receive benefits back, I think right around 30%. And the beauty of this was that it was still at his service rate. It was still at and following some of his service principles, making sure they got a deposit. They're able to have this longer job now at a great rate, great profitability. And it's just a huge win for Eric and the others who are able to be in class and hear that and make use of that same strategy in their business. So congratulations, Eric. And guys, this episode is short and sweet for you. Like I said, quick and punchy, right there with you, though, helping you with your solutions design this week. Let us know what questions you have, and we'll incorporate them in the podcast. And be excited for the coming episodes where we're reviewing the client circuit analyzer. We're going to introduce our new coach, Jacob, on the podcast. We've got one of our old clients, Edwin Castro, who's moved over to Romania, who's going to join us and explain his whole transition. And so much more, including our own app on the App Store to continue to help motivate you and give you guys momentum in your business build out. We're so pumped for this. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.
Be blessed. Can't wait to see you soon.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the $1 Million Electrician Podcast.
We hope you're buzzing with new ideas that charged up to take your business to the next level.
So don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with fellow electricians. Together, we'll keep the current flowing.